The world's most dangerous malware is often associated with the Trojan horse virus, a threat that has infected computers across more than 150 countries and attacked hundreds of thousands of systems. Although it was officially identified in 2017, by then it had already caused billions of dollars in damages worldwide. A Trojan horse is a type of computer malware that secretly enters your computer or mobile phone by disguising itself as something harmless. But the real question is, why is it called a Trojan horse? The first computer Trojan horse was created in 1975, but the story behind its name actually began more than 3,200 years ago in ancient Greece. In what is now modern-day Turkey's southwest of present-day Istanbul stood a prosperous city known as Troy. Like many cities of the ancient world, Troy was protected by enormous fortified walls that made it nearly impossible for enemies to invade. The people who lived there were called the Trojans. Across the Aegean Sea, where modern-day Athens, Greece now stands, lived another powerful civilization known as the Achaeans, whom we now simply call the Greeks. According to legend, a conflict erupted between the rulers of these two kingdoms. Determined to conquer Troy, the Greeks crossed the sea with a massive army. At that time, the Greek army was famous for its military strength. They believed they would capture Troy quickly and return home victorious. But they were wrong. No matter how fiercely they attacked, they could not break through Troy's mighty walls. Realizing that a direct assault would fail, the Greeks changed their strategy. They surrounded the city, hoping to cut off its food supplies. Their plan was simple: starve the Trojans until they surrendered or were forced to leave the safety of their fortress. Days turned into months. Months turned into years. The Greeks slowly grew weaker, while the Trojans remained protected behind their massive walls. It is believed that for 10 long years, every attempt by the Greeks to enter Troy ended in failure. Inside the city, the Trojans continued defending their homeland. Outside the walls, however, the Greek soldiers were exhausted. They had spent years away from their families, far from home, fighting a war that seemed impossible to win. Morale was collapsing. Many soldiers wanted to abandon the campaign and return home. When it seemed that all hope was lost, the Greek commander came up with a brilliant and incredibly deceptive idea. Instead of attacking the city, the Greeks began constructing a giant wooden horse. The Trojans watched from their walls, puzzled. They suspected the Greeks were planning something unusual, but they had no idea what the horse was really for. Months later, the enormous wooden horse was finally completed. Then one evening, the Greeks announced that they were giving up the war and sailing back home forever. Under the cover of darkness, they appeared to board their ships and disappear into the sea. The next morning, for the first time in 10 years, the Trojans looked outside their gates and found no Greek army. The battlefield was empty. Only one thing remained: a gigantic wooden horse. To the Trojans, it looked like a farewell gift left behind by their defeated enemies. Filled with joy, they celebrated what they believed was the end of the war. An elderly man warned them not to bring the mysterious horse inside the city, fearing it might be a trap. But no one listened. Laughing and celebrating their victory, the Trojans dragged the massive wooden horse through the gates of Troy, never realizing that they had just invited their greatest enemy into the heart of their own city. That night, the people of Troy celebrated what they believed was the greatest victory in their history. Music filled the streets. Families gathered together. After 10 exhausting years of war, everyone believed the nightmare had finally come to an end. As the celebrations continued, one by one, the citizens of Troy fell asleep. But while the city slept peacefully, the giant wooden horse remained silent. Hidden inside, there were some of the Greek army's finest soldiers. The Greeks had never truly left. Their ships had only sailed a short distance away and were secretly waiting offshore, hidden under the cover of darkness. Late that night, when the entire city was asleep, the hidden soldiers quietly climbed out of the wooden horse. Without making a sound, they moved toward the city's massive gates. They unlocked the gates from the inside and signaled the Greek fleet waiting at sea. Within moments, thousands of Greek soldiers stormed into Troy. The city had no time to react. The Greeks attacked from every direction, setting buildings on fire and overwhelming the unsuspecting defenders. Years of frustration, defeat, and anger were unleashed in a single night. By sunrise, the once great city of Troy had been completely destroyed. Its magnificent walls, which had protected it for a decade, became meaningless because the enemy had entered from within. This legendary event gave birth to the idea of the Trojan horse, an enemy that disguises itself as a harmless gift only to destroy its target from the inside. More than 3,200 years later, the same concept lives on in the digital world. Today's Trojan horse malware doesn't arrive inside a giant wooden horse. Instead, it hides inside things that appear completely safe. It may come disguised as a free game, a useful application, an email attachment, a software update, or even a message claiming you've won a lottery. The moment you trust it and open it, the malware secretly installs itself on your device. At first, nothing seems unusual. But in the background, it begins communicating with hackers, giving them access to your system without your knowledge. Once inside, a Trojan can steal passwords, banking information, personal photos, documents, and private messages. Some Trojans can even activate your camera and microphone, record your keystrokes, or allow attackers to control your computer remotely. Just like the citizens of Troy unknowingly welcomed the wooden horse into their city. Modern users often install Trojan malware themselves, believing it is something useful or harmless. The greatest danger of a Trojan horse has never been its strength. Its greatest weapon has always been deception. And that same deception continues to threaten millions of computers and smartphones around the world today. The first computer Trojan horse appeared in 1975 and became known by the name Animal. Unlike today's dangerous malware, Animal was actually a simple computer game. The game asked players around 20 questions, trying to guess the animal they were thinking of. On the surface, it looked completely harmless. But behind the scenes, something unexpected was happening. Every time someone played the game on a connected computer network, the program secretly copied itself to other computers without the user's permission. It wasn't designed to steal information or damage files. It was simply an experiment, and for many people, nothing more than a practical joke. However, it introduced a powerful new concept. A program could secretly spread by pretending to be something harmless. Years later, that harmless idea evolved into something far more dangerous. On January 19th, 1986, the world encountered one of the earliest computer viruses capable of causing real damage. It was created by two brothers from Pakistan, Basit Farooq Alvi and Amjad Farooq Alvi. The brothers owned a software business and had developed medical software that was distributed on floppy disks. Like many software developers of the time, they were frustrated by illegal copying of their programs. To discourage piracy, they created a virus called Brain. Their intention wasn't to destroy computers. Instead, they wanted to display a warning message telling users that they were using an unauthorized copy of their software. But the virus spread far beyond what they had expected. As infected floppy disks traveled from one computer to another, Brain quickly crossed international borders. It became one of the first computer viruses to spread around the world, infecting thousands of machines. Although it wasn't as destructive as modern malware, it proved something alarming. A small piece of malicious code could travel across the globe in a very short time. As computers became more powerful and the internet connected millions of people, malware also evolved. Simple Trojans transformed into sophisticated cyber weapons. New types of malicious software appeared, including spyware, keyloggers, ransomware, and advanced remote access Trojans. Unlike early viruses, these new threats were no longer created as experiments or anti-piracy tools. They were built to steal money, spy on victims, capture passwords, monitor online activity, and even take complete control of computers and smartphones. Hackers discovered that deception was far more effective than brute force. Instead of breaking into a system directly, they simply convinced users to open the door themselves. A fake software update, a free game, an email attachment, a suspicious download link. One careless click could be enough to compromise an entire device. By the early 2000s, Trojan malware had become one of the most dangerous threats on the internet. And then came a new generation of cyber weapons tools so advanced that they could silently infiltrate smartphones, monitor every activity, and operate without the victim ever realizing they'd been infected. One of the most powerful examples of such technology would soon shock the entire world. Its name was Pegasus. In 2010, three entrepreneurs from Israel founded a cybersecurity company called NSO Group. The company developed advanced software that allowed technical support teams and security professionals to remotely access a client's device, but only with the user's permission. Its original purpose was to help organizations troubleshoot technical problems and provide remote assistance. However, intelligence and law enforcement agencies soon recognized that the technology had the potential to do much more. With further development, the software evolved into an advanced surveillance tool known as Pegasus. Unlike traditional Trojan malware that relies on users downloading infected files or clicking suspicious links, Pegasus was designed to infiltrate smartphones with little or no interaction from the victim. Once installed, it could silently gain access to nearly every part of the device. Photos, videos, messages, emails, call logs, contact. Even the phone's camera, microphone, and live location could potentially be monitored. In many cases, victims had no indication that their phones had been compromised. NSO Group has consistently maintained that Pegasus is sold only to government agencies and is intended exclusively to combat terrorism, organized crime, and other serious criminal threats.